Hey, this is American Lonsdale fan, and I finally purchased a Hoffner Creed folding knife. I've been a fan of Hoffner basic folding knives for a while. I've carried them with me, but I never got around to buying the Hoffner Creed. Well, guess what? Now I have one, and it is quite something to behold. So what I was going to do today is just do a quick comparison side by side to the basic Hoffner knife. So let's start with some similarities. The most obvious similarity is the handles. The handles, if you notice, I could actually literally hide one behind the other. They are the exact same size and the same size G10 scales. So also, let's look at their overall and their blade length, which are also identical. But that's kind of where they end. So, basic Hoffner knife is a spear point design made of 440 stainless steel. Hoffner Creed D2 steel, which is, if you know anything, is technically a tooled steel with semi-corrosion resistant ability. It's sometimes known as a semi-stainless steel. It does have some corrosive resistance, but not quite to the same level as high chromium stainless steels. But it is a very, very strong steel. And as far as the blade, this is a unique blade design. It's like a little bit of drop point, a little bit of spear point with a touch of Japanese tanto design. So very, very unique. Hoffner prides itself on some of the grinds, say like the hollow grind right here, but a very, very unique knife. Now let's look at the blade thickness, which is quite a difference. I'm purposely kind of doing this in the dark so you can see. A lot thinner on the original Hoffner knife versus Creed. The width of the Hoffner blade is marginally thicker. I think it looks thicker than it really is, but they're about the same thickness. Okay. Once again, let's talk about these scales. You can see once again the scales are the same size, but man, what a big difference. Let's just put these together. What a big difference in the thickness of the blade. I'll show you closed. So this is the thickness of the original Hoffner knife versus the Creed. And just a big difference. I'll show you this way too. Get a little more light. Getting back to the thickness here, I said the G10 scales are the same. Quite a more space in the Hoffner Creed, and if you can see it, if I can steady it long enough, I don't know if you can see that. The liners on the Hoffner Creed are twice as thick. Let's do it this way so you can see the difference in the liners. If I hold it up to the light, tilt it toward the camera a little bit, and line up the liners right like that, you can kind of see that the Hoffner Creed's liners are a lot thicker. And here's another way to tell just from the liner locking mechanism. I mean, this may even be thicker than just twice as thick. It could be more so, which is a good thing because you want a stronger locking mechanism on a heavier blade. So let's talk about the liner locks real quick. For the record, I've never had any problem with liner locks. When they're done right, they work. Some might claim that they're weaker than lockbacks and Benchmade's Axis Lock, or some of the locking designs from Spyderco, and that might be true in a laboratory. For practical purposes, I don't see a difference. I really don't. But let's talk about the basic Hoffner liner lock mechanism, which works just fine. It's where it's supposed to be. While there is blade play sideways, there's no blade play forward and back, which means the liner is working. And the blade play on the side might be more for me, kind of abusing it over the years. Okay, now let's look at the liner lock on the Creed. And I'm going to open this slowly so you can kind of hear the locking mechanism. That's the first detent. Alright, that's pretty solid. And I'll hold this up to the light so you can see. You can see it's kind of hard to see from here, but the liner is pushing where it needs to go on the tang. It's not pushing all the way over, but it's covering the entire width of the tang. Just to show you how much surface it hits. It hits more than, it's hard to see, it hits more than half the width of the tang. And it locks up good. No blade play side or forward and back. Let's look at the blade positioning. It's pretty centered on the basic. It's not bad at all. Whereas this one it's hard to tell, but there you go. It's completely centered. I even measured it, and it's pretty much centered. Another thing is I've taken both knives somewhat apart to just kind of clean them and so forth. Mostly, I mean, this is brand new, so I just took it apart to kind of see the internal differences. So the basic lock has got like a nylon washer underneath here. This is the tension screw, obviously. You got some bronze pivot points for the bronze collars on the knife itself, and like I said, nylon washers underneath. Now the thing with the tension screw is it works as a tension screw. The tighter you make it, the harder it is to pull out the blade. And I've often used Loctite to kind of keep it in position where I like it. I prefer a firmer knife anyway, so I want something that will open when I want it, but not necessarily stay closed. And obviously it's not going anywhere. And the detent on it is okay. If you notice, that'll open if you wanted it to. If you accidentally hit or touch the thumb stud in your pocket, it would open, but not too bad. So let's talk about the Creed. First thing I noticed is this is not really a tension screw, because there is actually a metal locking washer underneath here. So this is meant to be snug and then no more. And then there's a ball bearing drive that I'll show you. You can show that just a little bit and it closes just like that. So it's on a ball bearing drive, which is to me so much better than putting like a spring assisted. I mean, there's no reason for it. That works fine, perfect. And everything is nice and tight. One thing I do like is listen to this detent for keeping it closed. I mean, it's in there. If you like the Hoffner popping action, it does take some working. It does take some practice. It's not as easy to pop as, let's say, this one. This one pops open with the inertia fairly easy. This one could take some getting used to, but with the added flipper, I don't think you really need it. Plus, with the added flipper, what I've noticed is you can start it by just putting pressure on your thumb and then let the ball bearing do the rest. So anyway, I like both knives. What's always been nice about this is lower price point, so you don't mind beating it up a little bit, and it's held together well. With this, I think this would hold up a lot better, but given the price point, you'd probably want to baby it a little more. I'm going to add one more thing to this comparison. The original Hoffner knife, I think because of its slim profile, it's almost like it fit the hand better in the reverse grip, or what Hoffner calls the spine pick, than it did in the forward grip. I'm not a saber grip guy, but I prefer the Filipino style. But for this knife, it just felt always a little better to do reverse grip. With the Creed, partially because of its thicker grip and it fills the hand more, this one feels better in a forward grip, particularly the Filipino grip. I mean, all three fingers wrap around, your forefinger comes in this little divot. It's protected by the flipper as a guard. The thumb doesn't even need to go on the blade and go right on the top of the handle, and it just fits and feels perfect. With the reverse grip, it feels okay, but it's a heavier blade, so you might find that using it in the reverse grip feels a little different. So that's just an observation. So these are the two knives, but like I said, this is the Hoffner Creed. So I'll end it by just kind of showing you a couple of little things, little additions, close-ups, liner lock, nice grind on the blades, pivot points nice and deep, G10 scales, very thick liners, good liner lock, good opening. So that is the Hoffner Creed.